That is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. The 2025 NFL Draft is in our rearview mirror. So that begs only one question, Soto, and I think it's the question everyone's dying to ask. Could the Raiders rookie 2025 draft class beat a gorilla in a fight?
The gorillas got it, dude.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
We drafted some studs. We drafted athletes. Like you always said, we drafted traits.
Traits.
Right?
Look, here's what I
didn't draft football smarts. Yeah, like we have some football smarts, but it's traits.
About the argument, there is not one single blow I can do to hurt a gorilla. A gorilla can glancingly blow, hit me with a glancing blow, and I would be knocked out. A gorilla, he could just go like a gorilla fighting. It's like, can you beat up 100 toddlers, or can 100 toddlers beat you up? That's the strength difference.
So there's one thing that has to be answered. Does the gorilla know he's in a fight? Because if it's realistic,
when he sees 100 people attacking him, he's gonna know.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, do we get to orchestrate something before he knows he's fighting? Like if we're in a natural environment, a gorilla's being a gorilla. He's eating, throwing his poo, banging chick gorillas. He's just being a gorilla, right? He's not like getting hyped up. He's not hulking up to fight us, right? But we're human beings. We have the superior intellect. We know what's going on. So we're going to say he doesn't know what he's doing. So this is my strategy, right? I think the Raiders rookie draft class can pull this off. You're going to have, this is the thing. We have to sacrifice somebody, right? We're going to have to sacrifice like a 6th rounder or something, like Tommy Mellett or something like that, right? So what we do is we throw one guy at him and fight him, right? And the gorilla rips him limb from limb.
Yeah,
like literally pulls his arms out of his socket, rips his legs out of his socket, just casually, like he's like tearing a fucking magazine, a page out of a magazine, right? He just kills him, right? Done, right? And then he goes back to being a gorilla. What we do, because what we need is weapons. What we do is we go over to the carcass when the gorilla's done.
Mm-hmm.
We take his femur, we take his tibia, we start sharpening the edges like a prison shank. And we turn our quarterback / wide receiver, we sacrificed him. Now we have at least like 5-6 stabbing weapons. And then we arm everyone else with these stabbing weapons. And if you have 6 world-class 22-year-old NFL athletes with 2-foot-long stabbing items, then we're set. Once you can introduce a weapon, then we can take on the gorilla.
The problem I see with that, well, the only issue I see with that, I think that's a good plan, but the only issue that I see with that plan is how quick is that off switch with the gorilla?
Yeah.
Because if he's pissed, he's gonna go out hunting. He's gonna go after you guys. He can't be able to just sit back.
It's like how big was our draft class? 11 guys. The
11.
Other 10 dudes, they're a mile away. They're on a hill.
I don't know.
Looking.
I don't know if that's the spirit of the question. I think the spirit of the
results.
question is you get 100 people and one gorilla in like a fight, and who wins?
See.
It's a gorilla, dude. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you guys, but
Sun Tzu, baby. Sun Tzu. Art of War. We're Chip Kelling this. We're not just strength versus strength. We're planning this out. And we have to sacrifice wide receiver / quarterback. So be it. We're winning this.
Yeah, I kind of like him though.
Me too. But who else? I mean, who else do we want to throw away at him? That linebacker we picked up, drafted last.
Man, that linebacker. My pro comp for Cody Lindenberg is Bobby Boucher.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of the water boy.
I like how we have a Lindenberg and an Eichenberg with like equal chances of getting the Bergs. If they both started, we can call them the icebergs. It'd be awesome.
Wow. Did you let us into the autumn windbags complaints?
Yeah, here's the complaint box right here. Yeah,
okay.
Put them though.
I'll file that appropriately.
Here's file this in the complaint box right here. Put them there. I'll take a real good gander at it.
Why is that used condom brown?
You don't put spray tan on your dick?
I'm sure that's
What are you, Puritan? What's wrong? That shit's for Quakers.
10
All right.
frame.
Lessons learned from the 2025 NFL draft. We'll get to the players here, but I think this was a very important draft, obviously, because it's this new regime's first one. It's Tom Brady's first draft as an owner. It's Mark Davis's first draft as neutering himself. It's Pete Carroll's first draft as a Raider, and it's John Spytek's first draft ever as a general manager. Pete Carroll's probably, as old as he is, he's probably got 3-4 years as a head coach with us. But here's hoping Spytek is the world's best general manager and he guides this team for the next 20 years, right? And we're going to look back. You always remember your first, right? You're always going to look back and your very first draft as the actual GM. And there's three themes I learned from this, like independent of the players in general. But there's three things I kind of picked up with how they drafted. One, they really fucking believe in their coaching because they drafted a lot of projects, a lot of like studs. The RAS score through the roof on most of these guys.
Oh yeah,
like ridiculous scores on these dudes. A 9.99 on Darian Porter, a 9.85 on Dante Thornton. Like, this is Al Davis type drafting. Just fucking stuff. Ted Nguyen made a joke on their show. He's like this is Al Davis drafting, except he would have drafted Dante Thornton in the first. Like, it's like that kind of shit. Just gazelles, studs, specimens, track team. Really, it's track athletes, right? The vast majority of these guys are not ready to play NFL football between the years, but their bodies are going to be some of the best athletes on the field whenever they hit the field. So you can tell that Pete Carroll, Spytek, this regime, they're like, we can coach. We believe in our coaching. We can turn these raw globs of clay into producers and Pro Bowlers.
Well, I think the main thing is how you should coach. You don't want, if all you're looking for is drafting finished products, plug and play guys, then you don't want to coach. You want to implement, right? Mm-hmm. You just want to implement your system. You don't want to coach a guy up. You just want to plug him into what you want to Josh McDaniels it. Here's my system. I'll plug you into my system and it should work because it's my system and my system's great. Yeah. No, they're not. I believe they are confident in their coaching, but I also think that they want to coach. They understand that you get better through coaching. These guys are not bums. They're not like guys that are like on the track team and then they go, hey, let's draft them for football. Like, no, they're good football players and they'll find a way to get these guys on the field and get them productive because they're going to ask only what they can do well initially until they coach other stuff up from them. Like,
well, that leads to my second point. The second thing that I learned is, despite Pete Carroll saying we're going to win now, and I have no doubt they're going to try to win as many games as possible next season. They're not going to half-ass games. They didn't draft like they're trying to win now because they didn't draft plug-and-play guys. They drafted guys that are going to take a season or two to really be a contributor, to really be somebody, like Elliott, right? The guy was a wide receiver. He played like 600 snaps at safety. It's a fucking specimen, but he's got to learn how to play safety. Well, Dante, right? He had just broke my chair. He had like 24 catches or something. Now they averaged 25 yards. He's incredible, but his route tree is like two things. You gotta. It's gonna take him time to learn to be a full contributor as opposed to a gadget guy.
Yeah, he's the receiver version of Jalen Milroe. I think that Tennessee did him a disservice not teaching him how to be a receiver. He was like the equivalent of a Trey Tucker.
Yeah,
where they used him a lot as a clear out guy.
Yeah,
which is a shame because the reason why he caught the balls that he did was because he's just physically superior to most of the corners that he was playing against. He could just go up and get the ball, right? But I think that similar to what happened with Jalen Miller in Alabama, they're just like, you know what, go out and be an athlete and win games for us. We're not going to ask you to do too much because then we're going to have to coach you and you're going to have to be bad and to be better at it. We don't want that. We don't want to lose our jobs. We want to just go out there and play.
Yeah. And that's like 8 of the 11 guys they drafted was some version of that. A quarterback that you're going to turn to a receiver, a receiver that's been playing safety and still has to really learn safety, a defensive tackle that was recruited as a tight end that played some fullback, that played some quarterback that might play fullback for us. Like it's a lot of those guys that, yeah, they may know football, but maybe they don't know the position. They're studs and athletes, but they're not, you know, they need time. They need time to be. Every guy I mentioned can contribute with what Dante can contribute, run a post, run a go, right? We go up against, who's that like 5'8", 5'9" corner on the Chargers? Anyway, when there's like a 5'9" dude corner out there and you can match him up against him, a 6-foot dude, like there's gadgety moves you can do with him. For him to be a starting wide receiver 1X, gonna take a while. And there's just a lot of guys like that drafted. So that tells me they believe in their coaching and they believe that they're going to be good next season and beyond.
I think that our first, because I've said it before, I think your first 3 rounds is where you should get starters or heavy contributors. If you want to count the 2 offensive linemen that we picked with supplemental picks in the 3rd round, fine. I think that you're going to, of course, I think Jeanty is going to start, of course. I think Bech is going to start. Mm-hmm. I think Darian Porter either is going to start or play a ton just because they know how to use him and his skill set. And honestly, I think Caleb Rogers has a chance to either be a dark horse to start or be a pretty solid contributor pretty quickly. Charles Grant's going to take a little bit more time, but I think Rogers can play pretty much right away. Hemingway and Pegues can be a rotational guys from the jump. The other guys are going to be a little bit more developmental, but that's the only pushback I have. I do see 3 starters out of this draft class.
Tonka Hemingway sounds like a college English professor's dog. Like that's what they would name his like black lab.
He's good,
Tonka
dude.
Hemingway.
He's freaking good.
And the third thing I learned is I'm obsessed with who's making the decisions on draft day and stuff. I know I care far, far more than you do. Assuming you don't care about this last one, but it definitely felt like Carroll picked the players ish and Spytek executed the moves, trading down multiple times. On Friday night, I was starving. I was in Kansas City working, and I was like, all right, we'll make this pick, and then I'll go eat. And they traded down. I'm like, oh, it's in their stomach gargling, waiting. Like, all right, finally, we can make that pick again. Traded down again. Like, I give up. I'll watch it on the phone. I'm gonna go eat, right? But I was stoked. It's like, yeah, we're trading down. We have so many holes. We got to keep filling it. Felt very Spytek-y. And then the players that were drafted felt very Pete Carroll-y. So I don't know what role Tom Brady had. I don't know if he was in there. I don't know if he okayed guys. But it felt very, very Pete Carroll saying, this is what I'm looking for. This is who I want. I like these 4 guys around these areas. Spytek make it happen in a way that you're happy with. And then Spytek did Spytek-y stuff. Guys en masse. And he does have a great reputation for interior linemen and linemen in general. So there's a couple of those as well. But other than that, it felt like that's the dynamic for this draft and probably for as long as these 2 guys are together.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too far off from what I envisioned it being. You know, like how are we going to build this draft board? Okay, what do you value more? Of course, what you value more, we're going to put up higher. So that's Pete Carroll's contribution to the whole thing is I want this. Okay, who are these guys? Okay, these are the list of guys that we see. What do you think? Okay, I like that list. Fine. All right. Now let's rank all these guys from 1 to 500, whatever. and as far as levels, and in what situations do we go up a little bit? In what situations do we draft back a little bit? In what situations do we trade out? Where do we think is the right place for these guys? And that's where Spytek and the team really kind of put that board together. But like you said, Carroll gives the grocery list to Spytek, and Spytek makes it work with what he has.
Spytek cuts the coupons, sees what's on sale.
Yeah. Goes to multiple stores for the deals.
Checks each tomato, like this one's kind of raw. This one's got bruises. Kind of does that thing, and
that's how it should be. Because as a GM, you don't want to pick players that don't fit what your coach wants. I think that's what we've done a lot in the past. Is we've just drafted a bunch of guys. That's John Gruden all over again. Just draft a guy. He doesn't fit with your team. It doesn't fit with your system. It doesn't fit with what you want to do. You have one play that he can do really well. Okay, great. Well, what about the rest of the freaking game, right? Yeah. But ultimately, I think that the work was done. The collaborative work was done well before the draft. And when the draft day came, it was just execution. And it really showed a big deal on the last press conference of the third day. Pete Carroll wasn't even on that press conference. Mm-hmm. It was Spytek, and it was, I forgot his name, but he's the director of scouting. It's like, that's who's going to talk about why you guys picked those specific players. It's not going to be the coach. Coach tells you what he's looking for and what he wants. They got to be X. They got to be Y. They got to have this type of personality. Whatever. I'll okay them, but ultimately, finding those players, that's the scout's job. And I think we did a really good job. I think that a lot of people aren't going to be super. A lot of the people around the league, like different, scouts and stuff like that, and TV guys are going to be like, well, they got a couple of guys that could start. Well, no, you got to take into account a lot of other things. Like Tariq Woolen was Darian Porter. He was a former receiver, turn corner, fast with long arms. Only had a couple of years playing corner. Same thing with Richard Sherman. Wasn't as fast, but receiver, turn corner, a couple of years playing corner. He got taken. It just, you can't doubt Pete Carroll when he makes a move like this. You got to trust that he knows what he's doing, because he's done it multiple times.
Well, and I think that's why I think this dynamic, I think it's Pete heavier than maybe it'll be 5 years from now, because it should be that way. Like you said, this is Spytek's very first draft as a GM. Maybe he had a lot of say in previous places he's been at. We don't know. There's like only a half dozen people that truly know the answer. But this is his first draft as a general manager. And Pete Carroll's had, 14 drafts as the decision maker, as like the buck stops with me. So you got to have Pete Carroll's going to be like, Spytek would be stupid to not like really invest in what Pete Carroll's asking for. And Pete Carroll will be stupid not giving Spytek strict direction. Maybe when Pete Carroll retires, or 5 years from now, there's a rookie head coach coming in, some offensive coordinator genius who's 32. Maybe Spytek's a little bit more like, tell me what you want, but I'm going to take control of this, right? With a younger head coach with less draft experience. With Pete Carroll, you'd be like, tell me what you want and how you want it, what you want it, and I'll just do what you say with my knowledge. I'll go to the grocery stores and I'll check for bruises, but you tell me which bruises you don't want, which ones exact. So
I can really see Pete Carroll sticking around as like team president and working with the coaching staff to kind of simplify the communication to the GM. I can totally see that, because, dude, Pete Carroll stuck around. He talked his way into a consulting job with the Seahawks, and they just fired his ass. Like, he wants to be around the game.
So I don't know about you, Soto, but I have been violently masturbating to Ashton Jeanty highlight reels ever since Thursday. We knew what a stud was before. The world knew how good he was. But once he's yours, like, once it's like, you're going back to a strip club and you're like, remember your girl, like, you're always thinking about her. But when you're going to the titty bar and she's going to be there, you get a little extra excited. Now that he's
Ooh, it is
ours,
Tuesday night, isn't it?
yeah. Oh, $10 Tuesdays, perfect. Like now that he's ours, he's us. I mean,
Dude,
silver and black,
as awesome as his
dude.
highlights are, his all 22 is even better.
He's so fucking good, man.
He's so
And
good.
and neither one of us predicted it. I forget which lineman you had. I had Mason Graham, who was gone, and then they went with Jeanty instead of which lineman did you say?
I mean, I said in order was Mason, Graham, Jeanty, Membu, and they went in that order. 5, 6, 7. Mason, Graham, Jeanty, Membu.
And my thing was like, okay, best case scenario, Mason Graham. Second base scenario, trade down. And when it really felt, I think I texted the chain like morning of. I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to be able to trade down at a 6. I don't think anyone wants anything. And when that felt like it was impossible, then I was like, okay, best player available is Ashton Jeanty, BPB. And we got him, and he's great. Why is he so great? So Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated did a report on why the Raiders went with Ashton Jeanty. And you remember all the draft misinformation. It was Shedeur forever. Mason Graham was kind of speckled in there. And then it was Ashton Jeanty after that Spy Tech interview on Sirius XM about his son wanting him for fantasy. And then like 48 hours before the draft, it was Jacksonville's going to move up to 5. Jacksonville at 5. They're going to take Ashton. They're going to take it. The Raiders are going to take a lineman or something, whatever, right? So Albert Breer's like, what the fuck happened? Right? Because he predicted same thing you did, that it wouldn't be Jeanty. And the report was a couple things. It was the obvious. He's just a fucking stud. You watch him play football and you say, yes, please. Yes, Miss Lippy. But the other thing is something that Tom Brady and Spy Tech have always talked about, the humble superstar. And I highly recommend you read this article, Sports Illustrated, Albert Breer, came out a few days ago, and it talked about all the things that Ashton Jeanty is as a person, how they went to Boise State, talked to the head coach, and the head coach was like staying up at night trying to think of bad things to say about Jeanty, so he didn't sound like he was just fluffing up Jeanty with nothing but good things, and he was full of shit. He didn't want to sound like a used car salesman. He wanted to be like, no, here's the truth. He has, he drinks too much, or he doesn't call his mom, or, he skips leg day or whatever. You know what I mean? He wants to I want to tell the truth, but like he couldn't think of anything. And they talk about how many of these coaches, players, position coaches bring their kids on the road sometime. Ashton was talking to the kids, like being friendly, treats the janitor the same way he treats the team president, all this shit. And when you start thinking about more and more about like, okay, quality guys, and if there is an issue with drafting Jeanty, it was always, there's just so many other great running backs. Is it worth the number 6 overall when you can get a starter in round 3, a Pro Bowler in round 3, for sure in round 2? Like, is it worth that kind of value of the number 6 overall pick? And the intangible value was what Pete Carroll always talks about: leadership, culture, character. And Ashton Jeanty is all those things. I didn't know that really. Like, you kind of hear it, right? But he's exactly what you want. And what did Gruden always say? Like, you need your best players to be your hardest workers because they set the standard. And so when your number 6 overall pick comes in, second highest paid player at running back in the NFL, $38 million guaranteed, right? Second highest paid right away. And he's treating the secretary like a gentleman. He's the first one out there working. That is the culture stuff that maybe you wouldn't have gotten with another running back in the draft.
There's that, but I just think ultimately he's in a running back class that Todd McShay called the best ever.
Mm-hmm.
When you're head and shoulders above everybody else in that good a running back class, and also on top of that, you're that good a person. There's no way, there's no reason why you shouldn't. I understand, like, oh, don't take a running back high. Well, if he's the best player by far available, then yeah, you do. Because you're in a not only a team, but you're in an offense that's devoid of star players. You have one. You need more star players to win. And it just so happened that BPA met with position of need and a person of character. So all that stuff combined to be the perfect pick. It had to be that pick. It would be ridiculous if they didn't go that way. And I understand people are like, well, no, you don't pick this guy because of the longevity. Like, dude, worry about that. We'll worry about 5 years from now, 5 years from now. Right now, you're trying to put a culture in. And make no mistake, above everything else, you build a culture by winning games. Because I'll tell you something, AP had a good attitude, and he had a good attitude for the team, but he didn't really build a culture because they didn't win any games.
Yeah.
When you build a culture by winning games, and you win games by having the best talent and coaching them right. So we have good coaches. You have confidence in that. You need good players. You need great players. And we needed one on offense, and we got it.
So Adam Hill of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, friend of the show, been on a couple times. Maybe my favorite Raider writer. Now that Vic Taper's moved on.
Vic, dude.
Now I lost Vic Taper's gone to the Niners.
So sad,
that's a
dude.
bummer.
He was my favorite Raider writer. Sorry.
Those are the two. So those two guys were, and it's a lot of good writers out. There's a lot of good Raiders coverage. There's a shit ton of good Raiders coverage, but it's all kind of different. Vinny Bonsignori is kind of in bed with the Raiders, so he's a little PR-ish, but that's okay. Like, you know what he is, and he gives you scoops because he's that guy. And then there's creators, there's fans like us. We're more like fans, like we say us as team, stuff like that. Vic and Adam are the like not fans. They don't care if the team does well or not. It's just, here's the facts, here's the stories, here's my analysis, here's my inside info. It rubs some people the wrong way. We don't give a shit, right? So it's important to have guys like that. And they were not dead, but Vic was great at that. And I put Adam and Vic in the same kind of vein, right? Just like big J pure journalists. And so when Adam kind of poo-poo the Ashton Jeanty pick, I was like, okay, let's hear what he has to say. I'm open-minded, right? I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. You present a really strong case, some evidence I haven't seen, a viewpoint I haven't heard. I'll hear you out. I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. He said prior to the draft, I think people aren't going to like this. I think John Spytek is smart. I don't think he would take a running back at pick 6. I just don't. I think Ashton Jeanty is a great player, but Spytek understands value, and he's talked about that before. I was on Cofield's show with Adam on Tuesday, and he kind of talked about that more to me. And he's just like, yeah, man, like there's just so many running backs out there. Pick number 6, there's a ton of value. Running backs don't last long in the league. And at pick number 6, you'd want someone to be a franchise alterer on one side of the ball for 10 years. And there's just so many good running backs in this draft. The value just isn't there. I said, that's rational. I don't think that's an irrational comment. Soto, what say you?
Yeah, I think it's all well and good when you're not the one that has to coach the team. It's very rational, but there are certain things you need to do. Like, did we need to draft a tight end last season? No, we didn't. But we did because he was a good player, a good person, and he was that much better than the people that the players around him. He was like the 3rd or 4th, 5th player, best player in the draft at 13. You got to take him. So take the whole position of need away, because we did need that position, and we are devoid of talent. I understand. It's not, because this whole just nonsense about you don't take a running back in the 1st round. That's a Mel Kiper thing. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the one that really championed that. But again, it's all well and good when you don't have to coach the team, right? Value is great, but if you get a mediocre player in like the 6th round, it's good value, but is he a good player? And you just need better players, man. You need better players. You worry if you go into a situation worrying about injury and longevity, when there's no evidence of, you're just thinking negatively. You're being scared off from a pick that's pretty. I think it's a pretty basic pick. I don't know that there's anyone out there saying that it was a bad pick.
Well, I'll push.
I find it really hard. I find it really hard to follow that logic, because there's other guys that are available later on, but they're not as good. So
I'll push back.
Positive?
I'll push back a little bit on the like you don't pay attention to longevity. Like I think you should. I think that should be part of the equation. Now, to this Ashton Jeanty specifically, two big things. One, I do get the value thing, and that's what made me for a split second kind of side with Adam for a split second. I was like, oh, I'm the value guy, right? You're the coach, I'm the GM ish, right? I'm the cheapest dude ever. Like value, that's all that matters. Value in the draft. It's a crapshoot. Value. I love the trade downs because normally when you trade down, the team above you is desperate because they want somebody, so you can fleece them and get value, right? Like I love value. I understood that concept, but I'm also best player available. And at pick number 6, there was no doubt. I don't think even Adam can argue against best player available on that board at 6 was Ashton Jeanty, and not a close second. Like, who's the second best guy? The second or third best lineman in the draft? Maybe, right? Like, I wouldn't have been unhappy, but that if we would have skipped Ashton Jeanty, we would have not have drafted best player available. And that is what's very, very important. And on top of that, you can throw this entire argument away if the guy's good enough. And Ashton Jeanty can be. So between best player available and just how goddamn good he is, it kind of torpedoes that, well, you could get better value with something else argument.
It's easy to say certain things when it's not you and your job on the line. That's the only issue I have with people. I wouldn't say criticizing, but being skeptical or being wary of taking certain players at certain spots because of value. Value normally does not win in the NFL. Talent wins in the NFL. Now, if you have a bunch of talent on your roster and you get value, like the Eagles, they're able to sit back and take BPA and plug them in because they have really good talent on their team already. So once you're there, yes, you can go, once we have next season, if this happens again and we're in a position where there's no quarterback there or whatever, and you just get a lineman or get this or get that, even though just get the best player you can because you already have really good talent on your team. You're just going to make that team better. Well, if you don't have that talent, you got to get talent. And I don't think getting the 3rd, 4th, 5th best running back in the class is going to be as good on your offense as getting by far the best running back in the class.
Yeah, I want to hamper the point too much. But we the Eagles were on the opposite end with the exact same thing. We need BPA because we have holes everywhere. It's like there's basically not a position where we couldn't draft someone high, more or less, because where we're at, and we've been hampered by half a decade more of atrocious drafting. So 5th round picks from 3 seasons ago that can now start contributing for us don't exist. We didn't draft them because we sucked. Because John Gruden didn't know what he was doing. Josh McDaniels didn't know what they were doing. Mike May didn't know what they were doing. So I want 100% align with you on the value thing. I think there's something to that. But with Ashton Jeanty specifically, he's just so fucking good. And he was BPA. What else you got to know? Period. Sentence over. It's done. Well, one guy we didn't draft, basically no one drafted, Shedeur Sanders for 5 rounds. It got so annoying, man, watching Mel Kiper's shame campaign. I was like, what does Dion have on Mel? Yeah, does he like a video of Mel with the donkey or something? Like, it's one thing to bring it up. It's one thing to defend your point, right? He mocked him real high, and you kind of want to defend it.
It's ego. That's all it is. It's ego.
It felt like more than that. It felt like vendetta. It felt like Mel Kiper had a bat phone ringing where it's like, you gotta get Shedeur off the board, man, or else.
Mel Kiper put Shedeur Sanders, I think, number 5 overall. Mm-hmm. He has so much egg on his face. There are so many other people that do what he does that are so much better than him. And for him to act the way he did was ridiculous. The entire panel didn't want to tell Mel on air why Shedeur Sanders fell the way he did because they didn't want to bury him.
Mhm.
Why pile on Shedeur Sanders? Everyone knows why he fell, right? And I wouldn't necessarily say it's all his fault. He got very bad direction from Deion Sanders, from his dad. But everyone know why he fell. Everyone knew why. Number one, first off, he wasn't that good already. Number one. On top of that, he acted like he was better than the people that were in the room with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're going to go in there and you're going to act like, well, I said it on my other thing that I do. That whole story of Deion, when he said, hey, Deion, we're going to have a meeting with you. Oh, yeah. When are you picking? Number 10. Oh, I'll be gone by then. And he walked away. Yeah. That story is not very funny anymore. Because that's how Shedeur, from multiple people's accounts, that's how Shedeur acted in a lot of these interviews at the combine. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen in Cleveland when they're down 35-10 in the fourth quarter? What's going to happen? Oh, well, let's put Shedeur in there to get him some reps. Well, I don't want to go in, man. The game's over already. When things are not his way. Mm-hmm. That's what he's showing the NFL that he's like. So I don't have.
I think the Browns have 5 quarterbacks they can choose from.
Yeah, right. If you have 5, then what does that mean? You don't have any. If you have 5, you don't have any. But this whole thing, Mel Kiper he was so focused on he's better than where he was drafted, and everyone's like, it's not about that, Mel. And he made himself. He showed his ass. He made himself look ridiculous. Reese Davis put him in his place. What's his name? Was the guy sitting next to Reese Davis? What was his name? God damn it, I forgot his name. Anyway, he put him in his place, and he just kept saying the same thing over and over again. And then for Mel to say that the NFL is clueless about how to scout quarterbacks, that is absolutely ridiculous. Because Mel can say whatever he wants about these quarterbacks in his class. He doesn't have to worry about them past the draft date. Because he's on to a whole nother crop the next season. The people who are picking these quarterbacks are stuck with them because they're under contract. So Mel to say that these guys are clueless, well, dude, we could go through Mel. Jimmy Clausen's going to be a freaking star. If he's not, then I'll quit type of thing. Like he's clueless too on how to scout quarterbacks. It's just a hard position to scout. And for him to go out there and just show his ass like that, I was a huge fan of his because of what he did for, I wouldn't say like the profession, but like for me, like the pastime of scouting tape, right? Without Mel, I don't think people would be as into it. But as far as like having the chops anymore, I don't know, man. I just don't think he's got it anymore. For him to like blow up like that.
That's why it felt almost too much for it to just be ego. Like it really felt like there was like a gun to the head of his beloved one. I think he's
fighting for his spot, dude. I think he's fighting for it. There's so many people who do things better than him. There's 5 people on NFL Network who are better than Mel Kiper. But Mel Kiper's got the name.
Yeah, he's the institution. I don't think he's going anywhere. Not because he's good. I think it's just because he's an institution. But it just felt like Deion Sanders had like Mel Kiper's nephew in a basement somewhere with a gun to his head. Like you better do. Like it felt that over the top. It was wild.
Yeah. What did I tell you in the text chain? Mel Kiper's on the payroll. It looks like it just looked like he's on the payroll.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
The prank call for Shedeur. I've been debating this for a long time because it wasn't funny, but it wasn't funny because it wasn't executed well. It was a funny idea, but it wasn't executed well. And that's why I think so many people are pissed off. You know how like Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Shane Gillis, they can say like the craziest shit that would get like you or me canceled. But because they're so funny, you kind of forgive it. They know how to set it up. They know how to drop the punchline. They know how to give it the backstory. So where like it doesn't come off like mean, it's just like clever and hilarious. And so you forgive them for saying something crazy. That's what this wasn't. It was just like poorly executed. And I think that's why everyone's losing their shit. Skip Bayless took Twitter and got all skippy with it. It is now clear Tom Brady, who mentored Shedeur, told the Raiders not to take Shedeur. Duly noted. Bayless also said, how could Tom Brady's team pass on Shedeur Sanders again and again and again? Brady reportedly coached Shedeur. Brady reportedly was involved in Raiders draft decision-making. So he's kind of saying, oh, well, maybe Tom Brady doesn't have draft decision-making power. According to the Daily Mail sources, Tom thinks that Skip Bayless is an idiot for thinking he had anything to do with Shedeur's downfall in the NFL draft. Tom has limited say in what players the Raiders pick in the NFL draft or whomever they sign. Pete Carroll and Mark Davis have the final say on everything with the team, the insider continued. Will they talk to Tom for his advice? Absolutely. But Tom has no sway on getting Shedeur or staying away from him. Now that Tom is in the media himself, he has to deal with Skip forever. It is just another ridiculous accusation that Tom isn't going to give any life to for Skip's benefit. It is just stupid banter. So never mind like the Skip Tom rivalry, whatever. I don't give a shit. But Pete Carroll and Mark Davis have final say on everything with the team. We buying that? We buying the daily Russ Weekland of the Daily Mail's insider?
Yeah, I think he pretty much hit it as far as Tom Brady's role. Mm-hmm. He was, and I said this before. It's like he's the guy that's like keeping the ship moving in the right direction, but all the different commands and all that other stuff that's happening, he's not in the minutia. He's like, what's our main goal? If you have a question, if you have a question, I'll answer it, but I'm just gonna be here for guidance. Mm-hmm. As far as telling him not to take Shedeur, I don't even think he was really appraised of this. Like, I don't know, dude. I think this is nonsense. I think Skip is just doing what Skip does, man. He just says nonsense.
Yeah, to me, it's less Skip's nonsense. It's more this insider saying like, no, Tom doesn't have decision making. It's Pete and Mark. They have final say. It's like,
I think they did. I don't think Tom Brady had any say at all. I think he was there for guidance, but I don't know that he was like, pick this guy, pick that guy. No, I don't think he did that. Not at all.
I think he still has final say, but I think he was extremely hands off. I think if let's put that, if Tom Brady said draft Shedeur in round 2, does that happen?
I don't think he would though. I think he knows his place.
Well, I'm just saying power wise, because I think that's the case.
Well, I mean, power wise, he's an owner of the team, so yeah, he has a very, very, very small part of the team, but he is still an owner, and he does have the ear of the majority owner. But ultimately, there's a lot of people in the field of business overall who are a lot bigger than Tom Brady, and they don't have say. So I understand why Brady is there for like a sounding board, but I don't think he's picking any of these players. I think that's ridiculous.
I don't think he handpicked players, but I think he has the power to. I think Mark Davis has put full confidence in Tom Brady. Tom Brady can make whatever decision he wants. But I also think he's kind of what we suspected, where he's not going to be so hands-on, and he's not dumb. He's not John Gruden, where he's just like, well, I got a hankering for this dude. Blow up your draft plans, pick him. He's like, do your thing. Some good news. Hunter Renfrow's back in the NFL. Bad news, not for the Raiders, but happy to see him back in there. He's signed with the Carolina Panthers. We don't play the Panthers this season, so we're all free to root for Hunter Renfrow and hope he has a fantastic season, plays well, and gets back to his football playing ways. Played his heart out for the Raiders, and then he disappeared. And we're like, okay, he didn't just like forget how to play football. A season and a half removed from a Pro Bowl 1,000-yard season, 100-catch season. He didn't just like fall off that bad. Something must have happened. And we were kind of like, it's got to be, it felt like concussion. We both were kind of like, this like looks and smells like concussion. He's not like having surgery on a knee. He's not, cancer, like, whatever those things. Like, it felt like something you kind of keep under wraps. And we finally found out what it is. You did a story with the CarolinaPanthers.com. And apparently he had something I'd never heard of. Renfrow said that the challenge he's dealt with stemmed from a diagnosis of the autoimmune condition ulcerative colitis, which had left him with weight loss, fatigue, and high fevers. I don't know what that is, but that sounds pretty damn scary, Soto.
Yeah, we know it had to be something. But I mean, I wish him well. I mean, I just don't have a lot of time, even for Hunter Renfrow. I don't have a lot of time for anyone who doesn't play for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think Raider Nation misses him. He was definitely easy to root for because he's like this smaller than a normal size American male and still got 100 catches. And he's got a hairline that makes Brock Bowers look like Fabio. So it's like he's just like such an everyman. He's just so easy to root for. And he's back in Carolina where he's from. So hope he does well. Props to him. I just hope this. It feels weird saying this. Like, I hope he actually really was and is sick. And this wasn't just like a scheme to get out. Like, you fake a disease, like you fake something. You're like, I don't want to play for the Raiders. This is a nightmare. Coaching carousel. Ownership's crazy. I want out. Because there were no reports of anything like this. So I'm not calling him a liar. I just hope that this is all true and it wasn't a scheme to get out of the Raiders. That would really fucking suck. And that would be pretty damn shady. You ready to do some what up Windbags?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
All right. Sam Deman. Is it true Wilkins might miss the 2025 season or most of it? So I haven't heard a good source or a good news source put this out. The closest thing I had to like a solid source is to Sean Reed at The Athletic, reported that according to sources, the Raiders expect Christian Wilkins to be fully recovered and playing at the start of the season. And he was at involuntary workouts, working out with the team. What was that, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, whenever, like the original, like the very, very early involuntary workouts. He was there working out. So I would say the sources that say he's doing well are much stronger than the rumored sources that he's going to miss time. Not that it's not possible that he can miss time, but I much more trust the sources that say he's fine.
Yeah, Vinny Bonsignore said the same thing, that he's talked to people in with the Raiders and that there's no issues. So
they did have me scared though for a minute when those rumors were swirling around.
Yeah, man.
Solomon Mitchell, T9J, 100%. I agree 100% with RJ on draft coverage. It's all a bunch of BS. Nobody really knows yet. And it's more than just the Mel Kipers of the world. It's random assistant scouts calling their buddy that they went to college with, who's an intern at ESPN or SI or whatever, and saying, this is what I'm hearing, this is what's happening, and it's just all misinformation. And it's all part of it. Like, people are talking about how, like, oh, it's such bullshit how these teams are like spreading these rumors about Shedeur Sanders. It's like, they do that for every fucking player.
It happens all the time.
Every goddamn position. And Ashton, like, this is what I think happened with Ashton Jeanty. I think the Raiders leaked. They wanted out that the Jacksonville Jaguars might take him at 5 so that people would be willing to trade at 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all just like politics and scheming. Like, it's all the thing. And so to be mad that Shedeur might have eaten some of that, it's like every player had shit like that thrown around because your pieces on the chessboard. Welcome to the NFL, Rook. That's how it works.
Yeah, man, get used to it. It's just that's just the way
anywhere.
it is. No. Yeah, and then now you're gonna have your own coaches say, "Hey, man, don't worry, man. We like you, dude. We like what you do." And then they draft your same position in the first round next year. It's like, dude, it is what it is, man. You got to get used to it. It's a business.
Yep. Shima Utah 86. Remember all those fans complaining because of winning meaningless games to get knocked out of the position from drafting Shedeur? They're all quiet now. This is the thing I've talked about so many times, man. Like, look, would I rather have been able to pick number 1? Sure. Would I rather have been able to pick number 4? Sure. But there's one thing that, like, that's all maybes, hopes, and dreams is, man, if we win game 15, it's really going to hurt us. It's like it may have this trickle effect that's going to destroy us. Like, it's like maybes and ifs and can'ts and whatevers. But I'll tell you what I know for sure. I know that Sunday in December, week 15, when the Raiders win, way happier that week. I'm a better father to my, that's kind of fucked up, but it's true. I'm a better father to my kid. I'm a better colleague to my workers. I'm a better co-host to Soto. Like, I know that's a for sure. You win those games. Watching football's supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to be a good time. You crack some beers. It's the day before you go back to work on Monday. I just want to watch some football. I want to watch my team win. Like, let's not forget that's the whole point of all this. That's the whole reason why we do this, is to enjoy our Sundays and to shit talk Chiefs, Broncos, and Chargers fans as secondary. The main thing is to enjoy our Sundays.
Yeah, it's what did Herm Edwards say? The goal is to win the game. You play to win the game. And I've said it before, you don't win by losing. If you want to build a culture, you don't win by losing.
And this is a great example. That's a great fucking what up Windbag. It's like, because we had this conversation, right? Late in this last season, people were like, we should tank. We should tank. You know, Shedeur, like he's, it's going to be, Shedeur's going to go number 1 overall. We're not going to be able to get him. We should tank. It's like,
don't win by losing.
Don't win by like. Is anyone pissed we didn't get Shedeur? Is anyone pissed we got Ashton? Right? Like, other than Mel, right? Is there like, there's probably some Mel Kiper burner accounts out there talking some shit. But other than that,
you know what it reminded me of? You remember the movie? It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you need to go out and see it right now. After we're done with this episode, The Color of Money.
Yeah, it's the it's the sequel to The Hustler.
So you have Paul Newman, who's trying to teach Tom Cruise how to be a good hustler, and he gets hustled by Forrest Whitaker, and he's like, "I just showed my ass out there." That was Mel. Mel could have gone Mel could have leaned in to what the whole panel was saying. It's not his talent. Is he the most talented guy? No, because a lot of people had him as a second round talent. But the other stuff gave him pause, because it's not just, you're not just picking a guy and then next year you get to pick another guy. No, you're stuck with that guy for a few years, and you could get fired if you pick him too high and he's not any good. So where are you going to put your belief in, your faith in? You're going to put a faith in a guy who treated you like you didn't matter, like you're wasting his time? You're going to trust that guy? That's what Mel wasn't grasping. And yeah, man, he showed his ass. What do you want?
Dude, there's thousands of players you can pick from in the draft. Thousands. Literal thousands, right? People need to understand, scouts, coaches, GMs, owners, they're not convincing themselves to draft somebody. They're convincing themselves to not draft a player, because you're trying to whittle it down. That's what you're trying to. It's a process of elimination. It's not scouring to find. It's whittling down. You've got a list of 1,000 players, right? Your scouts come to you with a list of 1,000 players that you could potentially draft. You're not trying to find a diamond in the rough. You're trying to eliminate the problems. You're immediately like, okay, he's too short. His hands are too small. He was arrested. Boom, boom, boom. You're just trying to eliminate, right? You got Shedeur Sanders coming in there. Oh, like, hey, if you don't want to change your culture, don't draft me. It's like, yeah, I don't want to go there. I'm gonna trade this. Like, I'm gonna focus on rapping or whatever. Like, whatever the fuck. It's like, if you give them a reason to eliminate you, they will. They're looking for a reason to eliminate, not reasons to grab. It's the other. Like Mel Kiper and Shedeur do not understand that concept. That coaches, scouts, GMs, etc. They're looking for the tiniest reason to not think about you. because they have 1,000 other guys to get to. And if you make it easy to pull the plug on you, they're going to pull the plug on you. They'll move on. Like, as they did for 5 fucking rounds. You gave them a reason. You gave them 10 reasons. And they took them all. And it took maybe the worst place in the NFL to go as a quarterback to finally pick you. The Cleveland Browns. Like,
it's just a shame, dude. It's a shame that people can be so clueless, you know? Mm-hmm. And the problem is they're that way because that focus, because look, there's a reason why we've been doing this for 5+ years now, and we're barely sniffing 10,000 subscribers. Because you and I aren't like tween girls who are on the computer all day just like hashtagging and this and that, blah 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 blah, all this other social media stuff. But that stuff works. Because that stuff works because the highest selling jersey is, guess who? Shedeur Sanders. Mm-hmm. The hype is there. So the hype, we're more meat and potatoes guys, okay? Actual like tangible value. Mm-hmm. But how many games is Shedeur going to win you on the bench? How many of those you don't get extra points or an advantage during the game because you have the top selling jersey, you know? And I don't know. I think that if this was a moment to learn, a learning moment, it was this. But I don't think that Deion Sanders or Shedeur Sanders learned anything from this whole thing.
Well, they'll have a lot of time on their hands to go back to school and figure it out. If that's what he wants to do, he might actually do that. But he's someone else's problem, not the Raiders. That's it for us. We'll keep you up to date with anything crazy that's going on. A bunch of undrafted free agents came in as a wave. We'll get to that next show. And man, the free agency continues. Training camp, mini camps, kind of around the corner, man. Big step. We still have a lot of holes, a lot of work to do still. And we'll get into all that all off season until week 1. And until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.